So you're thinking about a career as a mind mechanical engineer.
Awesome.
Good choice.
It's a field with a lot of demand right now, and we're
Um,
going to dive deep into it. We've got a ton of resources from RoleCatcher, like career guides. We've got interview tips. We've got all sorts of things to give you the full picture of this really cool career path.
yeah, I can tell you, with all the changes happening in mining, all the advancements in technology, this is a really exciting time to be a mind mechanical engineer.
It really is.
The industry's changing fast, and it needs skilled engineers to, really lead the way.
Absolutely. And that's what's so cool about RoleCatcher's guide, like Mind Mechanical Engineer, the complete career guide. It really kind of throws you right into the thick of it.
It's not just about like fixing things. It's about understanding how these massive machines work, their whole life cycle in a mine.
Right. It's a big picture kind of role. Think of a mind mechanical engineer as like the guardian of those massive machines that keep a mine running. They're there from the very beginning, helping to pick the right equipment for the mine, figuring out how to install these giant high-tech puzzles.
And that installation process, it sounds intense. I mean, we're talking about huge equipment, often in pretty challenging environments.
Oh, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. And once everything's up and running, they're the ones who make sure it stays that way. They develop those really strict maintenance schedules to prevent breakdowns, because that downtime, that can cost a mine a ton of money.
Makes sense. Got to keep those million-dollar machines humming.
Exactly. And then inevitably something goes wrong, and they're the ones who have to figure out what's going on and get it fixed fast. Talk about pressure.
Yeah, you've got to be able to think on your feet and under pressure in this job. It sounds like the perfect blend of technical expertise and that real-world problem solving.
You got it. A good mind mechanical engineer. They're meticulous planners, but they can also think outside the box when things get tough. They need to know mechanical systems inside and out, hydraulics, pneumatics.
A whole shebang.
Yep, the whole shebang. They've got to be comfortable getting their hands dirty, too, because when something breaks down in a mine, you can't just Google the solution.
Speaking of getting your hands dirty, the guide talks about the work environment, and let's be real, it's not your typical office job, is it?
Definitely not. We're talking remote locations, could be scorching hot, freezing cold, noisy, dusty.
Yeah.
You're exposed to the elements, that's for sure.
And safety has to be a major concern.
Oh, absolutely. One wrong move around those massive machines, and it could be disastrous. So mind mechanical engineers, they live and breathe safety protocols.
It's serious business, but it's not all about the physical environment, right?
The guide also talks about communication, and you might not think that's so important when you're dealing with machines all day, but
Oh, it's crucial. Think about it. You're part of a team, and you've got to be able to explain these complex technical things to the operators, the suppliers, even management sometimes.
so you're like the bridge between the technical world and the people who make the mine run.
Exactly. You might have to explain why a repair is going to take longer than expected or justify a budget request for a new piece of equipment. It's all about communication.
It sounds like a job where you wear a lot of hats.
You could say that.
Mm.
And often those hats are pretty dusty. And then there's the hours. Mining often operates around the clock, which means you might be working some long, unusual shifts.
Right, that work-life balance can be tricky. Speaking of balance, though, let's talk rewards. I mean, the guide mentions some pretty sweet perks, high salaries, lots of room to grow in your career.
Oh yeah, the demand is high, which means those salaries are competitive, and the benefits are usually pretty good too. And the more experience you get, the more you can move up lead teams, manage projects, even specialize in a specific area, like automation.
It's good to hear there's a ladder to climb in this field. But we have to be real. Every job has its downsides.
What are some of the maybe not so glamorous aspects of being a mine mechanical engineer that people should know about?
Well, the mining industry, it's cyclical. When commodity prices are high, everyone's hiring, investing, it's booming. But when prices drop, projects can get put on hold, and that sometimes means layoffs.
So you have to be able to roll with the punches a bit.
Exactly. You got to be adaptable, maybe willing to move to where the jobs are, always be learning new skills to stay ahead of the game. It's not always easy, but for the right person, it's definitely rewarding.
It's like you're riding a roller coaster, but maybe you get to help design the track a little bit. But even with those ups and downs, a lot of mine mechanical engineers, they absolutely love their jobs. They find it really rewarding. Why do you think that is? What is it about this career that really grabs people? It's that mix of brain work and, well, real-world impact. You're using your head, solving these really complex problems, but you get to see the results firsthand. You're not stuck behind a desk. You're out there making these huge machines run like clockwork.
Yeah, it's almost like you're a doctor for these giant machines. You have to diagnose what's wrong, figure out how to fix it, keep them healthy.
I like that. And just like a doctor needs to know their anatomy, a mind mechanical engineer needs a rock-solid foundation in engineering. The RoleCatcher Guide talks about the education you need. And it's interesting, it's not just mechanical engineering. They mention mining engineering, even geology.
There's that multidisciplinary thing popping up again that we see in so many fields.
You need to understand the machines, but also the environment they operate in, the goals of the whole mining operation. Why is it so important to have that big picture view?
Because it helps you make smarter decisions from start to finish. If you understand the geology of a mine, for example, you might choose different equipment, stuff that can handle the specific types of rock and the conditions.
So a mine mechanical engineer with a background in geology might be able to say, hey, this type of rock is prone to fractures, so we need to choose equipment that can handle that, or something like that.
Exactly. And if you really get mining engineering, you can design better maintenance programs, get the most out of the machines, and most importantly, make sure everyone working around them is safe.
So it all ties together.
That's
But let's zoom in on those technical skills for a minute. RoleCatcher's Guide has a whole section on what you need to know, and it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, it's a great checklist for aspiring engineers. I mean, you got to have that core engineering knowledge, mechanical design, how to use technology in a mining setting that's a given. But they also talk about some pretty specialized stuff like hydraulics and pneumatics, which are essential in this field.
Can you explain why those areas are so important? What exactly do they do in mining?
Well, think about the force it takes to move tons and tons of rock and ore. Hydraulics and pneumatics, they provide that power. They're the muscles behind those massive excavators, loaders, conveyor belts, everything.
So you're talking about some serious horsepower here.
Oh, absolutely. In a mine mechanical engineer, they got to know how to design those systems, install them, keep them running smoothly, and fix them when they break, which they inevitably do.
It's pretty specialized.
It is. You need to really know your fluid mechanics, how pressure systems work, the different types of fluids and gases they use. But it's not enough to just read about it in a textbook. You have to be able to put that knowledge to work, get your hands dirty.
There's that hands-on aspect again, which seems to be a common thread here.
For sure. And on top of all that, you got to be a problem solver because in mining, things don't always go according to plan. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that. You're constantly troubleshooting, analyzing data, coming up with creative solutions on the fly.
It's like every day is a new puzzle to solve.
Pretty much. And sometimes you got to make those tough calls, the ones that affect everyone's safety, the efficiency of the whole operation, even how much money the mine makes.
No pressure, right?
Right. But seriously, being a mine mechanical engineer, it means being comfortable with making decisions, even when you have limited information or time.
It takes a certain kind of person to handle that kind of pressure, to make those judgment calls when it really matters.
It does. You've got to be able to assess risks, trust your gut, but also back it up with solid reasoning and experience.
Okay, so we've talked about the technical stuff, the problem solving, the decision making, but what about those other skills, the ones that don't always get talked about in technical fields? Things like communication, teamwork, leadership. How important are those for a mine mechanical engineer?
Honestly, they're just as important as any wrench in your toolbox. Remember, you're not working in a vacuum. You've got to be able to talk to people, other engineers, the technicians, the operators, everyone.
You're all working together to keep this massive operation moving.
Exactly. And as you gain experience, you might find yourself leading a team, managing a whole project. That's where those leadership skills come into play.
So you're not just managing machines, you're managing people too.
You got it. And it's not about barking orders. It's about listening to your team, respecting their ideas, and creating an environment where everyone can do their best work.
It sounds like a really well-rounded career, one that needs that balance of technical expertise, people skills, and a real passion for the whole mining industry.
It is. And speaking of the industry, I think it's important to talk about one of the biggest challenges it's facing right now, sustainability.
Sustainability, yeah, it's such a huge topic these days.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're talking about mine mechanical engineering, it's clear that it's not just about digging stuff up anymore. It's about doing it responsibly, right? Thinking about the environment, making sure there's something left for the future. So how do mine mechanical engineers fit into that? What's their role in making mining more sustainable?
They're essential, really. I mean, they're the ones who are designing the equipment, putting it in place, maintaining it, and all of that has a huge impact on how sustainable a mine is.
So it's not just about making the machines work, it's about making them work in a way that's better for the planet.
Exactly. We're talking about using less energy, creating less waste, figuring out how to use water responsibly.
Can you give us some concrete examples? How are mine mechanical engineers actually doing those things?
Sure, one big area is energy efficiency. They're designing mining equipment that uses less fuel or even runs on alternative energy sources, electricity, maybe even hydrogen in the future.
So instead of these giant diesel-powered machines, we might see electric excavators or haulers running on hydrogen fuel cells.
Exactly. And it's not just about the machines themselves. Mine mechanical engineers are also involved in making the whole mining process more efficient so there's less waste. Things like ore sorting, that's where they separate the valuable minerals from the waste rock before they even start crushing it.
Oh, I see. So you're reducing the amount of material that needs to be processed in the first place.
Right. And then there's water management. Mines use a lot of water, so they're developing systems to use less of it, to treat the wastewater, and to make sure they don't contaminate any water sources around the mine.
It's amazing to see how this field is changing, adapting to the challenges we're facing. It's not your grandfather's mining industry anymore.
Definitely not. And that's what makes it so exciting. Mine mechanical engineers, they're not just fixing things, they're coming up with new ideas, new technologies to make mining better.
It sounds like they really need to be innovators, not just engineers.
Absolutely. They need that deep knowledge of engineering, but also a real passion for sustainability, for making a difference.
It's not just a job. It's a way to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly.
So for our listeners who are intrigued by all of this, who are thinking, hey, maybe this is the career for me, what advice would you give them? Where should they start?
Well, first of all, check out those RoleCatcher resources we've been talking about. They've got all the info you need on education, job openings, everything. And beyond that, talk to people in the field, go to industry events, never stop learning.
It's all about being curious, taking initiative, and following your passion.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of mine mechanical engineering. It's been fascinating, and we hope our listeners are feeling inspired to explore this awesome career path.
It's been my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll be back soon with another exciting topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.